So today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to crack open a chapter from the ancient book of Proverbs. But we're not going to look at it as scripture. Instead, we're treating it like what it is, an incredibly practical 3,000-year-old guide for how to avoid some of life's biggest, most common traps. And that's the real question, right? What can a text this ancient possibly have to say to us, right here, right now? Well, as you'll see, these are less like dusty old rules and more like timeless life hacks for steering clear of what the text calls folly. These are warnings from people who'd seen it all. Okay, so this chapter breaks it down into 4 major warnings, 4 ways we tend to sabotage ourselves. We're going to look at financial traps, the dangers of laziness, how to spot destructive people, and finally, what happens when you, as the text so vividly puts it, play with fire. All right, first up, the very first warning tackles a problem that feels, honestly, incredibly modern. It's all about the danger of getting tangled up in someone else's financial problems. You know what this is, right? This is ancient speak for co-signing a loan. The text says you get trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. One simple promise, and boom, suddenly their problem has become your prison. I mean, just listen to the sheer urgency in this language. This isn't just, some casual advice. It's a command. It's telling you to escape with the absolute desperation of a trapped animal. The message is loud and clear. If you find yourself in this situation, get out now. Okay, so from a trap set by someone else, the text pivots to a trap we set for ourselves, laziness. And this second warning, it uses this brilliant metaphor from the natural world to really make its point stick. The writer creates this amazing stark contrast here. On one side, you have the ant. It's self-motivated, it's thinking ahead, it's preparing for the future without anyone having to tell it what to do. And then you've got the sluggard, who just keeps hitting the snooze button on life, justifying inaction and choosing rest over responsibility. And get this, the consequence is framed as anything but passive. Poverty isn't some state you just kind of fall into. No, it's described as an active, aggressive force that attacks you. It comes on you like a thief in the night or an armed robber when your inaction has left your guard down. So for warning number 3, we shift gears from our own personal habits to the dangers that other people can pose. This part is basically a detailed field guide for identifying a truly destructive person. The text paints this incredibly vivid picture. And notice how much of it isn't about what they say, but their nonverbal cues, the malicious wink, the subtle signals with their feet and fingers. It suggests the troublemaker's true motives are often hidden, but their core desire? It's always the same, to plot evil and to stir up conflict. And then it gets even more specific. It zooms in on 7, count 'em, 7 behaviors that it considers fundamentally toxic. These aren't just personality quirks. They are described as destructive patterns that you really need to watch out for. This list is almost like a diagnostic checklist. It flows from attitude, those haughty eyes, to speech, to action, and then it comes full circle, right back to the person who stirs up conflict. It's a really powerful tool for spotting character traits that are just fundamentally aimed at tearing things apart. All right, this brings us to our final warning, and it's the most severe in the whole chapter. It moves from social conflict to personal betrayal, using this raw, visceral metaphor of fire to explain the guaranteed consequences of adultery. So the text doesn't start with a lecture. It just hits you with these intense rhetorical questions. The argument is incredibly simple. Fire burns. It's a law of nature. You can't argue with it. Again, the answer is just obviously no. And that's exactly the point. The text is making the case that certain actions have direct, predictable, and incredibly painful consequences. You simply cannot play with fire and expect to walk away unharmed. Now, the core of the argument comes out in this powerful comparison. It says, look, a thief who steals because they're hungry, well, they can, in theory, repay that debt. But the damage from adultery? The text argues that it's fundamentally different. It's a wound of betrayal that creates a shame that can never be wiped away and a fury that won't accept any payment. It's a debt that can never, ever be settled. So we've got these 4 ancient warnings about reckless finances, about inaction, about toxic people, and about infidelity. What's the one message that ties all of these together? When you look at them all together, they really point to one central idea. Wisdom isn't about being perfect. It's about foresight. It's the ability to look at a situation, to recognize the pattern of folly, and to understand the likely and often very painful outcome before you act. And that's the final thought I really want to leave you with. This ancient text uses the word folly to describe all these self-destructive paths. Looking around at our world today, which of these 3,000-year-old warnings do you think we still need to hear the most?